are my salvation, my deliverance from this vicious hunger.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. The Fantastic Four movie was just released, and the director, Matt Shakman, and the actors have already started revealing all the deleted scenes that they filmed and even the alternate ending of the movie, how they changed the plot, even a totally different post-credit scene filmed by the Russos for Avengers Doomsday on the set of that movie with totally different characters. So we'll break it all down because it completely changes some big parts of the movie. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. Some of these deleted scenes will probably make it onto the Blu-ray when they release that, but as we've seen with all previous Marvel movies, typically the stuff they show you is only a small fraction of what they changed while they were actually making the movies. A lot of these scenes don't get finished visual effects, and they really don't like those getting out just because they look so janky and potato quality. It sounds like there were a lot of cameos that got cut out of this movie. Hashtag release the Fantastic Cut. Herbie, get on that. Matt Shakman also already said that Marvel is not going to release an extended director's cut of the movie. Like, they're not going to Snyder cut the Fantastic Four. Marvel generally does not do that. So all the stuff that got cut is not going to be added back in, but there will be a couple deleted scenes from this that they'll add onto the Blu-ray. Typically, the way Marvel works, the movies that have the most deleted scenes in alternate versions are their biggest Avengers movies like Infinity War and Endgame. There are like 4 or 5 different movies inside those movies just with the deleted scenes. Like, you could take the deleted scenes and make a couple more Avengers movies. The Fantastic Four movie isn't quite as egregious as those with deleted scenes or like Deadpool and Wolverine, which also had a crazy number of deleted scenes. The reason why there were so many in the Fantastic Four movie are mostly because the runtime wound up being so short for the theatrical cut. It was significantly under 2 hours, whereas most Marvel movies are way over 2 hours. I would argue that the movie did need like an extra 10-15 minutes to pay off some of the subplots. If you look at films like Avengers Doomsday, the Russos already confirmed that that's going to be over 2.5 hours long, and Avengers Secret Wars will probably be over 3 hours long, like Avengers Endgame, super long length. What we'll do is we'll start at the beginning of the movie and just work our way through in a linear fashion. Some of these scenes we know exactly when they happened because of what the director and the actors said. Some we only have a general idea of where they were supposed to go in the movie. First big one was John Malkovich's Red Ghost. In the trailers, you see a shot of him in a darkly lit area with long hair and a beard walking into the light. Thanks to the director Matt Shakman, we know this scene was supposed to be in the opening of the movie where Ted Gilbert is doing his big montage explaining all the battles the Fantastic Four had in their first 4 years of having their powers. During one of the scenes, you see Reed Richards fighting Red Ghost's super apes on the Excelsior launch pad as all these explosions are going off around his spaceship and punts one of the apes into the East River before they move on to their next villain in the montage. This scene was supposed to go on for much longer, and John Malkovich was going to be walking out onto the platform with the Excelsior ship here, fighting Reed Richards directly. And the reason why his super apes and he were at the Excelsior ship in the first place was that Red Ghost was trying to steal the spaceship and use it to travel to the moon. In the comics, Red Ghost has a base on the moon. At the end of the movie, when Galactus flies his world ship Ta-2 into their solar system to the Earth, he flies over the moon briefly, and you see their future Foundation flag that they planted on it. Presumably in the way that Mole Man appeared multiple times throughout the movie and had his own reaction shots to Galactus, John Malkovich's Red Ghost would have also reacted to Galactus passing over his moon base at the end of the movie, like, oh crap. Matt Shakman said that he cut this out of the movie at the beginning here in the montage, but left the super apes in because they wanted to keep the movie under 2 hours. Pacing reasons generally, and that's the reason why a lot of these deleted scenes got taken out, mostly for pacing reasons. They wanted like the 2 seconds blink and you'll miss it version of this Super Apes Red Ghost fight scene. In the movie, his super apes were meant to have gotten their powers the same way they did in the comics too, from the same cosmic rays that gave the Fantastic Four their powers. You can kind of tell that a lot of these scenes that got deleted were Kevin Feige's notes saying, get to Galactus faster, like move faster, get to Silver Surfer, get to Galactus, get to that second, third act of the movie faster. There is a moment in the post-credits scene where they fight Red Ghost in the animated show on their world. That was meant to pay off the earlier fights at the beginning of the movie, in the middle of the movie when he shows up again, like comedy comes in threes. all of the villains that they fight on that animated show in the post-credit scene are ones that they would have shown fighting earlier in the movie, in the opening scene montage, or that get mentioned later in the movie. Like Reed Richards says, he tracked 47 different evil organizations and then mentions a bunch of comic book villains. All of those show up in that animated show at the end. There would have actually been moments in the movie where you see them on screen in their costumes, like live-action versions of the characters, to help set up that post-credit scene.
How I envied your dramatic and interesting careers.
Most of those scenes were also cut for the same reason John Malkovich's scenes were cut from the opening montage. They just wanted that to go way, way faster. Next big scene, also during that opening montage, there were way more scenes of them in their original black and blue suits from the comics, more based on Jack Kirby's original designs. They also did this with the Spider-Man movies too, where one of his suits, the advanced suit, was based more on the original black and red Jack Kirby suit. During the movie, you see them wearing their original blue and black suits during the montage when they're cycling through all their big villains in their first 4 years with their powers. They're meant to show you the team's first couple of fights that they had, like Giganto, Mole Man, meant to be their first actual fights from the comics. Giganto's scene actually meant to be an homage to the cover of Fantastic Four #1. This was the first time they ever fought together as a team with their powers. This is why during the montage, because it covers 4 years worth of fights, basically that first chunk of the Fantastic Four comics in the 1960s, they wore the blue and black suits. The blue and white suits that you actually see later in that montage didn't actually debut in the comics until the 1980s. Presumably, we would have just gotten more footage of them in the fights in these blue and black suits during this part of the movie. Then you can tell the original version of this opening montage actually went on for way, way longer. So we're still during the Ted Gilbert show in this montage when he's narrating their backstory. He's finishing the montage now, though, introducing them to the audience who's cheering for them. During the trailers, you can actually see the curtain pull back, reveal them on the stage with all the arrows pointing at them. Then they get the alert on their watches and run out of the building to the Fantastic Car and take off to fight another villain at the very beginning of the movie. There's a scene at the very end of the movie that's just like this, where they have Franklin with them. You can tell, though, from the trailers that these are totally different scenes, because the one they do at the end of the movie, they have Franklin Richards with them, and they run through the hallway, and they're totally different characters in different types of costumes standing around watching them run past. And in the deleted scene, notice that they jump into the Fantastic Car and take off very quickly. Franklin, nowhere to be found because he hasn't been born yet at this point in the movie. Sue Storm isn't even showing yet because she just found out that she was pregnant. There are a couple of time jumps at the beginning of the movie because there's almost 9 months between the time she learns she's pregnant in the opening scene and then when she gives birth to him later in the movie after meeting Galactus.
The question on everybody's mind, will the baby be born with superpowers?
There are a lot of questions about this. Franklin Richards is meant to be just a little bit over 4 years old in that post-credit scene. Like he's only a couple months old by the time they get back to Earth in the middle of the movie. The montage itself just seemed like it lasted for way, way longer. It was also meant to set up the joke at the end of the movie where Ted Gilbert still can't get an interview out of them because they're so busy they keep getting called away. So it would have been a callback to the beginning of the movie when that happens again. There was another much longer deleted scene that they cut at the beginning of the movie of a full tour they were giving at the Baxter Building, also during that montage where they were talking to one of the other news anchors doing another interview with them. This was that infamous Sunday dinner on the dot at 7 no matter what scene that they turned into a meme that they posted every Sunday at 7 p.m. in real life to help promote the movie after the first trailer came out. They stopped doing it the weekend the movie came out, though. It was meant to be an homage to Jacqueline Kennedy's tours of the White House she gave after Kennedy became president in the early 1960s. There was a much longer version of this scene that also included Herbie and a bunch of 16mm footage of the family eating together, what looked like Thanksgiving dinner because there's a giant turkey on the table. There was one weekend that they were late in posting this as the meme in real life to set up the joke from the movie about them being late to Sunday dinner in the movie because she just found out she was pregnant with all the wordplay about her period being late. Like, why are you late? There was another scene that was also part of that opening montage meant to set up Ben Grimm's character more. There wasn't that much of him in the movie. That was one of the big complaints, is that we needed way more Ben Grimm scenes. This was a dating game parody scene of Ben Grimm going on a show called Let's Make a Match. The dating game was a real-life show in the 1960s where they did exactly what you see them do in this Ben Grimm scene. Women learn about different guests, different facts about them, and pick the one that they like the most based on what they learn about them, then reveal what they actually look like. So the obvious joke here is meant to show you that Ben Grimm is this very intelligent, soulful, caring person. Like, he's a very romantic kind of guy, meant to set up his romance subplot in the movie with Rachel Rosman. But the big payoff in this scene here, in the dating game scene, is that he looks like a giant rock person. So, like, the woman is like, oh, he sounds amazing. I'll pick this guy. And he stands up and they show the light on him. And she's like, wait a minute, you're a giant rock person.
Me? Oh, whoa. An angelic pair.
So the idea is that most women would love Ben Grimm, but they kind of be scared off when they see that he's a giant rock person. Now, in this scene, the woman seems like she's taking it in stride, like she doesn't seem that horrified by his appearance. But I think this was just meant to set up his whole subplot romance with Natasha Lyonne's Rachel Rosman, who took the place of Alicia Masters in the comics of what will probably be his love interest. They did actually do a version of Alicia Masters in the Chris Evans Fantastic Four movies, who did eventually become his girlfriend in those movies. But the idea in the comics is that Alicia Masters was blind, so she didn't care what Ben Grimm looked like. During the new movie, Rachel Rosman is not blind, and she's based on Jack Kirby's real-life wife, whose nickname was Roz, as in Rosalind Kirby. She was also Jewish in the movie, just like Ben Grimm. That's why you see both of them meeting at the synagogue talking before Galactus attacks. It just sounds like they had more of their subplot in the movie, so the dating game scene at the beginning was meant to set that up. Later in the movie, there's a scene of Sue Storm and Ben Grimm where she's still pregnant with Franklin, and they're talking together. He's comforting her on this couch. It's kind of hard to tell whether this is coming before or after Silver Surfer showed up in the movie, but it just seems like it's meant to be similar to the scene of Ben Grimm comforting Reed Richards later after Silver Surfer showed up before they traveled to Galactus. I think the idea here is that Sue Storm was just meant to show some of her fears to Ben Grimm about having Franklin Richards born into this superhero family. It sounds like he was just trying to tell her, like, no, you're going to be an amazing mom, everything will be fine. They probably also cut this scene for pacing reasons, like, no, get them to Galactus even faster. Then there was a much longer scene of Reed Richards and Sue Storm in bed talking about going to face Galactus. We actually saw a smaller version of this in the movie, where they mentioned all these things that having changed since the last time they went to space together, the first time they got their powers. During all the trailers, this longer version of the scene just played like a montage with them showing all their powers now, like how have things changed for them since the last time they went into space. Also probably cut for pacing reasons, like no, get through this faster, get them into space, get them to Galactus faster. Then there was a much longer scene of a very, very worried-looking Reed Richards blaming himself for Galactus in the first place. He says, "It's my fault. I stretched the boundaries of space and they hurt," which is obviously a metaphor for his powers of stretching. It sounds like this was part of a much larger subplot that they cut out where they would have explained why Silver Surfer selected Earth for Galactus to consume next in the first place. Like, why did Silver Surfer come to Earth in the first place? I think the idea is it would have been connected to his teleportation device that he was tinkering with at the beginning of the movie because it took so much power to actually make it work. In the comics, the reason why Galactus came to Earth in the first place is because Silver Surfer detected the energy signature of a weapon that went off that was extremely powerful when the Fantastic Four were fighting with the Inhumans against the Deviants. Everybody remembers the Inhumans. They were a big part of the Fantastic Four comics, especially early on. Johnny Storm even had this really big romance with Crystal. Norrin Radd, Silver Surfer, detects this energy signature, then tells Galactus, oh, this would actually be a good target for you to go after next. So in the context of the movie, I think the idea is that so much power was used to test Reed Richards' portal device, Silver Surfer detected that across the universe and said, oh, this would be one of the next good targets. So in a way, yes, technically it probably is Reed Richards' fault that Galactus learned about Earth in the first place. Otherwise, it would have taken him millions of years to actually make it to Earth. But because he's so worried during this scene, and he seems so chill earlier in the movie, I think this scene of him stretching the boundaries of space, thinking that Galactus is his fault, was after they came back the first time they met Galactus. Like, no, this is all my fault.
I will eat your planet slowly.
There's another really big deleted scene of Johnny Storm on what looks like the beach on Zen La, where we saw Shalabal before she became Silver Surfer. So there are a lot of questions about what was going on here. Why is he in his Fantastic Four costume on the beach? Why is he on Zen La? There are a couple explanations for this. In the movie, there are a couple flashbacks where Silver Surfer flashes back to her on her beach of Zen La with her daughter before Galactus comes, and then she offers to be his herald if he spares the planet, and you actually see her get the power cosmic, becoming the next Silver Surfer. So a lot of people are like, wait a minute, does Johnny Storm actually teleport to Zenla? Does he like physically go there? I don't think that's the case. I actually think the reason why he's on the beach here in his Fantastic Four suit is because Silver Surfer, when he's talking to her about Zenla, like remember, he's discovering their language, kind of figuring things out, then uses that to turn her against Galactus. I think at some point in the movie, he actually makes contact with her physically, and she gives him a vision of Zenla using the power cosmic. So it seems like he's there, but it's more of like a vision that he's having. He's not physically actually on the Zenla planet on the other side of the universe. Most of the actual flashback scenes that Silver Surfer has before she got the power cosmic also seem like they're filmed from somebody else's perspective, like somebody is watching her do this with her daughter. So that was probably where Johnny Storm was there watching this all play out. But it was all a vision just happening inside his head. Then there was a totally different ending to the movie. In the mid-credit scene that we saw in the theater, we see Robert Downey Jr.'s Dr. Doom coming to admittedly steal Franklin Richards as a toddler. Seems like he's going to yoink him and use him for Avengers Doomsday, and Franklin seemingly using his powers to heal Dr. Doom's scarred face. Originally, there was supposed to be a totally different mid-credit scene that was supposed to feature Chris Evans playing a Nomad version of the character, like totally different universe version, not from the MCU, warning the characters about Dr. Doom. Clearly meant to be another big Avengers Doomsday teaser, but it would have been a different group of characters in the actual scene. Like in the theatrical version, it was just Sue Storm, Franklin Richards, Herbie, and Dr. Doom. The rest of the Fantastic Four would have been in this Chris Evans scene hearing his warning. The Russos filmed the Dr. Doom scene on the set of Avengers Doomsday. Part of that movie, Kevin Feige revealed, will take place in the 828 universe inside the Baxter Building with like Avengers characters from the MCU inside the 828 Baxter Building. So the Russos sound like they were actually trying to pick between a couple different options for what the post-credit scene was going to be. They would have filmed the Chris Evans version too. The reason why they probably went with the Robert Downey Jr. Dr. Doom version of the scene is because they thought that it was a stronger Avengers Doomsday teaser. Like, what short scene we have will have the most impact and work for casual audiences, get them most hyped up for Doomsday? Probably Robert Downey Jr. is Dr. Doom because he's the main character of Doomsday. You also remember there's only one more movie coming out before Avengers Doomsday, next year, Spider-Man Brand New Day, so there's not that much time that they have to actually set up Avengers Doomsday. The Russos probably decided that we needed some kind of payoff for Robert Downey Jr.'s Dr. Doom on screen, and he was announced last year at Comic-Con around this time, is me posting this video, and we still had not seen a version of him on screen yet. So like, we don't want to wait 2 years to like Spider-Man Brand New Day before you actually see him on screen, so we gotta put him on screen somewhere. This is also why they didn't bother to link up with the Thunderbolts post-credit scene of the Fantastic Four coming to the MCU universe. Like, no, like, we don't need to re-explain that. We need to do something completely different just to set up more storyline for Doctor Doom specific stuff.
Extra-dimensional ship entering atmosphere.
Extra-dimensional? What does that mean?
Were there more Marvel movies coming out between now and Avengers Doomsday, they had more post-credit scene opportunities to set that up, we probably would have gotten the other side of that Thunderbolts post-credit scene. But if there's any other deleted scenes or things that got cut out of the movie that you think that you spotted in the trailers that didn't show up in the theatrical cut, just write them below in the comments. I'm sure they'll reveal more deleted scenes in the next couple of weeks. There's always stuff that you find out about years and years later. Oftentimes there winds up being a bunch of uncredited cameos that you only learn about when the actors who actually did them actually talk about it. I'm still working on more Franklin Richards and Dr. Doom videos about how they're putting Franklin at the center of Dr. Doom's plans for Avengers Doomsday now, and why Franklin helps Dr. Doom, why he's not stealing him, why Franklin goes with Dr. Doom. So that should post in the next couple of days. Be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss any of that. There's a bunch of other Comic-Con stuff that happened this past weekend too. I'm trying to work through all those videos as quickly as possible. Click here for my full Fantastic Four video with Easter eggs from the entire movie, and click here for my new Avengers Doomsday first look. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.